welcome back, or welcome if you're new. It's so good to see you today. My name is Vix and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. So this is my delayed weekly reading wrap-up that I should have uploaded on Tuesday, but this is the last of my delayed videos and I'm hopefully up to date now after having an impromptu week off. So this is everything I read from Sunday the 4th of June to Saturday the 10th. I finished 6 books this week, but one of those was already started from the week before, so should we just get on with the books then? So, as I said, I had a straggler from the previous week's wrap-up, but I finished Dracula's Demeter by Doug Lamoreux. I had picked this one up for the Once Upon a Readathon I'm taking part in on Team Pirates. And this book was so much fun. If you like Dracula, or didn't in my case, but maybe like the essence of the Dracula story, then you should enjoy this book. It is a brilliantly executed addition to the Bram Stoker's classic tale by exploring the untold story of the ill-fated voyage of the Russian schooner Demeter, shedding new light on Stoker's original narrative. The author has a very deep knowledge of ships, as you can see in this book, but you can easily skim over that if it's not your chosen topic of choice. But it does really get you into the late 18th century setting, and they do a fantastic job at evoking a tangible sense of authenticity. It's very evident that they did their research. The portrayal of Count Dracula stays true to Stoker's vision. This is Bram Stoker's Dracula in all his bloodthirsty glory, that gives fans of the original a true companion piece, in my opinion. The crew of the Demeter feels real, their dialogue ringing true to the time period, although the Scottish phonetic speech in this book did get on my wick. It did get annoying, but I thought this book could seamlessly exist in the same world as Stoker's original, with Dracula's Demeter serving as a loving tribute rather than just a cheap rip-off. The story does not rely on any major surprises, as we already know what happens after Dracula arrives in England, but instead Doug tells a tale centred on the ill-fated sailing ship and its unfortunate crew, providing a captivating and plausible story. The familiar characters from Stoker's novels, such as Jonathan Harker, Lucy, Minna and Renshaw, firmly anchors Dracula's Demeter within the Dracula legend, and this is a marvel, especially considering the small 129 reviews that it has got on Goodreads. This may be small press published, but it definitely deserves better from Dracula fans, I feel. The well-crafted characters, hailing from diverse backgrounds, add depth to the story. The unfolding horrors faced by each character, their tragic demises, all bring genuine sympathy, particularly for the likes of Harrington, Swales and Ekaterina. I think the next time you reread Dracula, you should add this as a companion to the original, or if you've never read the original by Stoker before, then you should include this vampire add-on for a bit of an extra bit of story. Next out of the TBR jar was Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett, the first Around the Disc book of the month, the second Death book and the 11th Discworld book in the whole series. As usual, this is a wonderful book that takes readers on a whimsical journey through the realms of life and death. Death as one of the most iconic characters in the series, in so much that I think every book I've read so far has death in it. So in this one, he has been sacked from his duties, forced into early retirement, and the chaos obviously ensues as the auditors of reality, who are powerful beings who want to reshape the world of death and eliminate any hint of chaos, as they try to fill the void by death's absence, the cycle of life and death ends up becoming disrupted, creating for us a humorous and poignant exploration of the human condition. But at the same time, strange things are afoot in the city of Ankh-Morpork. Strange things are happening. Objects and creatures are gaining a strange life of their own, and time begins to stretch and distort. So this is about Death and his newfound humanity when he becomes Bill Dorr and gets a new job as a farmhand at Miss Flitworth's farm in the village of Stolat, as he navigates the complexities of life and eventually tries to rationalise death. As the chaos continues to escalate, Bill Dorr, with the help of an unlikely crew, including Windlepoons, a zombie who has regained his sense of self after death, must find a way to stop the auditors and bring death back to his rightful place. The meaning of life, the inevitability of death, and the consequences of disrupting the natural order of life is handled with both humour and blasé, inevitable rationality. The observations on mortality, the human experience, and the absurdities of life are blended with humour that make this such a fun read. And as usual, Sir Terry's writing is politically and ethically witty, giving the characters those clever and hilarious one-liners that I just love. But of course, what do I always say about the Discworld books? It always turns out alright in the end, and they all go home and have a cup of tea. Our Bloody Pearl by D.N. Bryn was another Teen Pirate readathon choice. This was strangely cosy, completely unexpected because I thought it would be darker, and this had non-binary representation and disability representation. And the book kinda swept me off my feet from the very first page. The captivating world of siren-filled waters and the wonderful characters within its pages had me completely hooked, if you pardon the pun. Pearl, our main siren character, takes us on an incredible journey through their unique perspective. They start off as a captive, chained up by the sinister pirate Kian, who has a device to render the siren song as completely powerless. But when the ship is taken over by another bunch of pirates, led by a captain with an illuminating bright smile, Pearl's hope for escape is reignited. However, as a human and a new captain now, can this new sailor truly be trusted? The book is told entirely from Pearl's point of view. As a mermaid, Pearl sees the world both above and below the water in a distinct and fascinating way. The exploration of the Siren Society and their fluidity of their gender and sexuality is a completely new narrative to the mermaid stories. The diverse and inclusive representation adds a unique and incredible element to this story, opening up new perspectives. So while the pace of the book is a little slower and gentler, I did enjoy it. It had some dark moments, particularly within the Sirens' underwater world, but nothing too bad. Although I would have loved to delve deeper into the Sirens' world itself. The portrayal of the Sirens as hunting beings, both ruthless but loyal, was simply fantastic. Dejan, despite starting off as a pirate, defies the typical image of a pirate and soon becomes a loyal and endearing character. Their diverse and engaging conversations with Pearl made it a cosy, warm read. But overall, this was an adventure that kept me engaged from start to finish. The well-developed characters, their banter, the themes was friendship and loyalty, and the underlying tension made it an enthralling read, and the atmosphere adds to the overall experience, creating something wildly unexpected. The Windsor Knot by S.L. Bennett. I read this for my in real life local library book club. And I found you really had to like the Queen to want to read this book and enjoy it. So this was a bit of a murder mystery with a unique twist that the actual Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, was the detective in the book. The story follows the Queen as she goes about her royal duties whilst at the same time solving crimes. Sounds hilarious. This was not as cosy as I expected it to be, and I think it used every single royal family member, event and place that they could possibly throw into a book, which made it seem to me very cliche and a bit meh in my opinion. However, the thought that the Queen got stuck into solving local crimes since she was a little girl was rather amusing. So it was set in the backdrop of Windsor Castle. The novel begins with the discovery of a dead body during a sleep and dine event, which they really do hold at the castle in the real world. Queen Elizabeth takes it upon herself to uncover the truth behind the murder using her sharp wit, astute observations and intimate knowledge of the royal household. As she delves into the investigation, the Queen encounters a myriad of fascinating people, each with their own secrets and motives to murder, from members of the royal family to staff members and guests. Everyone becomes a potential suspect. The general consensus from the book club meet, which I had at the day after reading the book, was that they loved how the Queen was written, and they, being apparent fans of the Queen, a bunch of retired readers in the West Midlands being a bunch of royalists. Who could have guessed that? Well, they loved this book. They said they could really imagine the Queen acting just like this, a nosy sleuth detective wannabe, and they, having visited both Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, related to the atmosphere of the book and loved its, and I quote, regal charm. I suppose it was something new in the genre, using the Queen as a real person to solve the murder, but I wasn't much of a fan. But I thought I would relay that back, as I was in the minority at book club. Next was 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. This was the June Sweater Weather book club choice, and part of the Regency fairy tale series that started with Half a Soul and set in the same universe or whatever. And although this is book 2, you can totally read this as a standalone without having read Half a Soul. This story follows Effie, a maid / seamstress who works at the Hartfield estate. She is a spirited, strong character of justice. So one day she meets Benedict Ashbrook, the youngest son of the family, and although there is a nice little spark there between them, their relationship is complicated by their society class systems. Things, however, take an unexpected turn when Effie meets Lord Blackthorn, a mysterious fairy who offers to grant her wishes. As Effie navigates her newfound love and the meddling of Lord Blackthorn, the tale takes on a whimsical, imaginative quality. The exploration of the class structure and the lives of the servants that is usually in the background of fairy stories is in the forefront of this, while the theme of love and the pursuit of happiness is brought into question by Lord Blackthorn himself. While Effie is a wonderful main character, driven by her righteous anger and determination, her interactions with the enchanting and inquisitive Lord Blackthorn create a great dynamic. This was a brilliant, heartwarming book that I thought was even better than Half a Soul, which is possibly a controversial opinion. And while this is apparently billed as a twist on the Cinderella story, I say, oh, nay, this is a twist on the Rumpelstiltskin story. And then the final whole book I finished for the week was Blood Cruise by Matt Strandberg, another Team Pirate choice for the Once Upon a Readathon. I can't believe I was just sitting on this book, putting it back to the bottom of the pile simply because of its page count. Don't be like me. You really should read this book because it is a very fast read. It just flew by. So this is about a group of passengers aboard the Baltic Charisma, a ferry travelling from Sweden to Finland on what seems like a all-you-can-drink party weekend cruise. A real-life iconic cultural tradition in Finland, these floating shopping malls transport passengers between Helsinki and Stockholm offering an adult amusement park atmosphere with cheap booze, karaoke and an opportunity to meet people you may never encounter again. Read into that what you will. However, once aboard, there's no escape, making the closed environment a potential breeding ground for horror. The first half of this story focuses on the characters and their personal struggles, while an unnoticed vampire-like infection gradually spreads through the ship, started by an innocent little boy asking for help. The narrative then shifts to a new take on a vampire story as the infection becomes uncontrollable, resulting in some gloriously graphic deaths. Stranded in the middle of the night and the ocean, the passengers find themselves cut off from the outside world, unsure of who they can trust. This novel is so well written and suspenseful. Matt has done a great job of creating a sense of dread and panic as the passengers, in some cases being very drunk or hungover, are forced to deal with the threat of the vampire-like creatures. This is a true edge-of-your-seat, fast-paced vampire novel with a couple of really obnoxious, bloodthirsty characters who get their just desserts. And that's it. An update on the Two Towers by JRR Tolkien. I've just finished chapter 7 and I'm just about to start on the Road to Isengard. And what am I about to start? I just pulled out on Stranger Tides by Tim Powers from my TBR jar, so that will be the first thing I start for the week ahead. But what about you? How did your week go? Did you get any reading done, or have you been up to other things? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It means so much to know that you're spending your precious free time with me. Don't forget to use the like button if you want to, and subscribe if you haven't already and are so inclined. I will leave you, as I always do, with a favourite quote from one of the books I have read this week. No one is finally dead until the ripples they cause in the world die away, until the clock he wound up winds down, until the wine she made has finished its ferment, until the crop they planted is harvest. The span of someone's life, they say, is only the core of their actual existence. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye bye.